love you guys. Dance off, bro. I have the high ground. Expecto Patronum! 39 days. What people want. Survive.
On the Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Matt, Michael, and I are here for another Survivor interview. We're talking to Rob Bentele, the winner of Survivor South Africa, Island of Secrets. Welcome, Rob, to the Tribe of Nerds.
Thank you very much, Jake. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, this is amazing. So, to kick it off, so when did you start watching the show, or how did you get on the show in the first place?
Good question. Initially, I first started watching Survivor early days, when Rich won. I think it was the first season, if I'm not mistaken. And I watched a little bit of Rob's game, Rob and Amber. And then I fell off from there for many years. Didn't watch it for a long time until Survivor South Africa season 6 came, which was the Philippines.
Yep.
And that kind of reignited the flame again. And I was so inspired by it. I was just so like, wow, this is incredible. Oh, I'll do anything to be there. Because, you watch the show and you're like, I would do this, I would do that. You kind of like, I want to be in this thing. And the player who actually inspired me was Vanna himself. I don't know if you know about him, but he played an incredible game in Survivor South Africa. And that's when I then applied for the show when I heard season 7 is coming. And I was blessed and fortunate enough to actually be on the show.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, we did watch Philippines. We did a review of that season before we watched yours. And yeah, Werner was incredible. So
yeah.
So you get cast on the show. What kind of mental or physical prep did you do before actually going out to film?
Oh, that's always quite intense, eh? Look, I can tell you that it's primarily a social game more than anything. More than anything, I believe it's a social game. But having the physical aspects to get you through the challenges, rather have it and not need it than need it but not have it. So the stronger you get your body, the better. So obviously a lot of training, weight resistance, number one, cardiovascular, a lot of running, number two. And then I like to stay very flexible because a lot of guys, when they get too big, they start getting very stiff, they can't really move. So I swim quite a bit as well. So I think those three elements was perfect. And for balance, what I do is actually I walk on train tracks for a couple of kilometers or miles, whatever country you're in. But I literally walk on train tracks, which are like this thin. So if you can balance on train tracks, you can balance on anything. So that's what I do. Yeah.
wow.
Well, that's the first time I've ever heard somebody train by walking on train tracks.
It's the best thing you can do for your balance. It's incredible. And then on the emotional, spiritual side, I'm a big believer in plant medicine. And so I did a couple of journeys before going on the show, which I think really helped me get in touch with spirit again. So, yeah.
Wow. It's awesome.
Thank you.
So the game begins. What were those early dynamics like on Solo, and how did the Amigos initially come together?
Yeah, so with Survivor, you watch it on TV, but you never really realize or understand how real the game actually is. In the back of your mind, you don't know what to expect. You kind of think you're going to go there, you're going to do the show. There's people all around you, cameramen. So if you are in trouble, they will step in and intervene. At least that's what we thought. So I still recall day one of the game, we get on the island and we're talking so much. Like everyone is so in depth with the conversation that we're not really building the shelter. And, here and there, the crew's kind of saying, guys, get the shelter going, And we're like, hey, how are we working? So we're kind of doing it, but we're not doing it with all intent. We're talking a lot. And sure enough, we were there during the monsoon season in Samoa for our season. And sure enough, that night, the rain comes whacking us. And I mean, it comes down on us hard. It's windy, it's raining, it's cold, even the temperature drops. Yes, you're on a warm island, but it gets cold at night. And we literally held each other the whole night shivering until eventually, I got up, I said to the cameraman, listen, guys, this is quite serious. We borderline hypothermia here. Surely there's somewhere we can go. This is not safe anymore. And he did nothing. You are on your own. We told you, build your shelter. So that was a beautiful wake-up call. I truly think that was exactly what we needed, because the mind clicked to say, whoa, you are actually all alone right now, and you have to put in the work. The next morning, we woke up as soon as the sun got up, and we started working at shelter, and we built the ultimate shelter survivors ever seen. Like, we spent all day working on it, because it got real very quickly for us. But I also think that was nice because it kind of brought the group together. We were crying. That night when we were shivering, we were in tears together crying. These are complete strangers, but that helps speed up the bonding process, So it was, I think, what we needed at the time.
Yeah, the show, I wish the show kind of would have showed that, because it definitely showed you guys like immediately grouping together and didn't show like the lead up to that. So
yeah, no, it's unfortunate, and I can't even blame the producers, because they only have an hour to show you probably 3 days of content, so they have to be very selective in what they show you. It's unfortunate they didn't show you that, but that's really how we as Saula bonded so fast.
That makes sense. So then you have Paul, who goes to the Island of Secrets, and he comes back with an idol that ends up being, or an idol clue that you then find the idol, and it becomes a tribe idol. So what went into that decision to make that idol like a tribe thing instead of like trying to keep it for yourselves?
Yeah. So look, Paul's since become a very good friend, and we've discussed this in length. He loves talking Survivor, and look, so he gets the clue, I think it was, and he finds the idol. I'm not sure if so he felt guilty because he knew he went there and we knew he was going to come back with something, so he had to tell us something. And I think with us in the early days of the game, we kind of didn't want to break trust too soon in the game, if you call it that. You want to kind of keep it that integrity, trust, because especially with us, trust was a big thing. It was like conceived from day one. We were kind of trying to make a family bond there, and then somehow it becomes the tribe idol. And I think Paul felt guilty because I went to the Island of Secrets, and he was like, hey, let's make Rob feel safe. Meanwhile, I didn't need it. I didn't even ask for it. I didn't want the idol. But on his own, he just put it on me. And I was like, whatever. And yourself, he wasn't meant to go home that night. So it just kind of became a tribe idol.
Yeah. That it's tough when like that happens, and like you basically have to come up with some sort of thing on the spot that to explain why you have like what happened and why you have this. So
exactly. Yeah.
So Saula ends up going to the first tribal council, and Leanne is voted out. Why was she the best choice to be the first one voted out of the game?
Look, Leanne was. There was a bit of a history between Leanne and Nicole. They were both in the beauty pageant space and everything, and it wasn't the nicest of histories between the two of them. So the moment the majority of us bonded with Nicole, it was kind of obvious that, look, Leanne goes, she wasn't really physically an asset. For Saula, physical strength was quite important. I kind of also helped push that narrative on the offset, because it works into my favor. If I make physical strength something important, to kind of drill it into the tribe, gently, we kind of go along with, and plus you also look at the main people. There was myself, Nate, Nicole, and Steffi. These are all physically, even Paul himself at his age, he's also a very tough guy. So we had some strong players in there. So the moment we say we kind of looking for physical strength, it kind of keeps the majority safe. So there's always a toss-up between CPay and Leanne in the beginning. And we went primarily for Leanne simply because of the history between Nicole and Leanne previous to the game.
So she never really had a shot, almost, right?
No, she was really on the outs because every time she would try and get in, by that time Nicole was kind of set into the core of the tribe that we would be nice to, obviously cordial, etc. But she never really got a chance to really infiltrate and penetrate properly,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So you end up losing immunity again and going to the second tribal council where you flip and send Paul home. We see you giving signals to the tribe that's going to be Paul and bringing CP into that Amigos alliance. So talk us through the decision to go out, get rid of Paul there.
Yeah, well, look, the first thing I would like to say is that we were actually something about tribal council early in the game, especially with us. We were all, first-time players, not really know the game. And for us to have gone to tribal early in the game before everyone else, in the beginning, we were heartbroken. We thought this is terrible. But we eventually, late on in the game, which I'll just obviously clarify when we get there, it actually hardened us. It actually strengthened us. It actually made us more prepared. We became like solid. Tribal council didn't fear us because we were so used to it. And so it was a double-edged sword, blessing in disguise. But yeah, so the second day, or the second tribal council, we lose again. Obviously, now this really kills the morale of the tribe. I mean, firstly, we think we're the strongest. We look like the best tribe there. No issues. We should dominate. That's not Survivor. It's not purely physical game. There's so much that goes into it. But we lose again. It kills our morale a lot. And then at that time, Nate had an injury, which is, it got to a point where he even decided he wants to go. And as much as I was trying to argue with it, we had that walk alone, and he made it clear that, look, Rob, I know you're going to try and protect me. I know you're going to save me. I mean, at this point, I was carrying the guy because, once again, Survivor is very real. They say to you, we cannot help. We cannot carry him for you. If you're going to keep him around, you carry him yourself. And I mean, early in the game, I still have a lot of power, but this is a 39-day game. You got to think about the long-term strategy. You are draining calories that you really don't have to spare. So sure enough, I'm carrying this man, and I tell it to myself that I don't care. He's my brother. We've gotten so close at this point. You must remember, something about Survivor makes people bond quicker than in normal scenario in real life. Real life, you've got other people, you got friends, you got distractions, you got work, you got so much to do that it takes time to bond with a person like that. With Survivor, they strip you of everything you have. You're naked, you're cold, you're hungry, you've got nothing. And then when you finally find a person that like you bond with, and it's like, oh, I'm not alone here. I can trust you. I feel it, You hold on to that person with dear life because they truly are, in essence, all you have at this point. So I did not want to let Nate go. I didn't care what the situation or scenario was. I don't care if his leg was broken and I was going to carry him the whole game. I refused to let him go until he decided that, okay, Rob, let me go. So it truly was real. We had decided Nate is going home tonight. And yeah, tribal council happened. Paul felt safe because he genuinely was safe. He had given me the idol. I didn't care about it. It was on my neck, whatever, it's there. Nate was supposed to go home. It was very clear we were leaving. Nate is going home. We'd already said our goodbyes actually to him before we left for tribal. Once we get to tribal, I think this is where Nico Panagio is an excellent host. Well, yeah, he's so good because he kept emphasizing to us what is important. Is it physical strength? Is Nate just his foot? Or is there something more important in this game, which is loyalty? And at this point, we knew that Paul was not really trustworthy because he had approached Nate and myself as a strong three. And then he had also separately approached Steffi and Nicole as a strong three. And obviously we close and we put this together and we're just like, okay, well, this Paul character, we can't really trust him, We knew this, but, it's not an immediate emergency. We can put it aside. We had to take Nate home. He asked to go home. But then as soon as Nico kind of reminded us that loyalty is the most powerful currency in this game, we kind of started rethinking, like, his foot will recover. He also said that, it was different when he told us that the medics have actually said he will be fine, he will recover. And we find this out in tribal council, and you kind of like, no, loyalty is more important than physical strength in this game. That's more valuable, actually. And then we just decided as a tribe, let's eliminate Paul. And yeah, That's how it happened. It was not planned.
Yeah, I mean that loyalty and trust within Soul is going to get you all very far. So it's I think it's probably the right decision.
Yeah.
Correct. Very true.
So after this, you guys do in a challenge, and then it ends up being a tribe swap, and you and Nicole get swapped with Letitia and Rocco and Dante and Meryl. So what were the dynamics like on the new Talo?
Oh, I can truly say to you that, if anything, that was probably the most vulnerable I ever was in the game. It was that point, and the edit doesn't show it too well, but I know deep down inside, Nicole and I were on the outs. Had we had gone to tribal, it would have been the one of us. They would have come for us. However, we were ready. You know, we had the idol they didn't know about, but you don't want to play that if you don't have to. So we really fought in those challenges. I remember those challenges. You know, they were the most scary because I knew that we lose here, we go home. But also, just to rewind it a little bit, what I do like the most about that bond that was built with the Saula people, you know, if you're going to build, so I like to play Survivor in such a way where I insulate myself. I actually create a shield around me. Okay. Now, you can make the shield out of straw or you can make it out of steel. The difference is that the people you decide to work with, they can't be soft people who are easily manipulated. They have to be strong characters that have their own backbone, that are, it takes longer to get people like that to really work with you because they aren't easy to manipulate. But if they decide we lock you in together, it becomes a very strong shield around you. Whereas if you choose players who are easily persuaded, because I mean, it's easy to, there's some players who I truly believe in Survivor are put in there as pawns. So let's just call them pawns. If you decide to insulate yourself with pawns, it's a very weak wall to put around you because one person can just talk to this guy for 15, 20 minutes and then he's really turned on you. Then there's your kink in your armor. So what I liked the most about the Saula was that everyone was strong. They were all very dominating, strong characters. You know, you look at Sipe, the moment we split up, Sipe started bringing in her own people. She started getting her own group to trust her. Steffi did the same. Nicole did the same. We all separated, but everyone was able to bring in their own thing, which actually started becoming a web, which in a way I was in the center of it. I didn't realize it. So you've got yourself and you've got your core around you. And then the core's actually built its own network, which actually brings it all in. It becomes a beautiful web. And you can only do that if you're going to align with the right players, strong characters that can have a backbone. So yes, we do. Yeah, Rocco. The problem with Rocco is that, you know, Rocco is such a sweet guy, genuinely salt of the earth guy. I wasn't lying when I called him Superman. He is a trustworthy character. He's big. He's strong. He's someone who just wouldn't lie. You can see it. It's in his heart. Every time I fly to Cape Town, still to this day, he's the one who fetches me at the airport. Very good friend of mine now. But he's such a character that everyone kind of goes around Rocco, and he does it effortlessly because he's a genuine character. So him and Dante formed a bond very quickly. They also both speak Afrikaans. It's a language here in South Africa, which I can't speak. I'm Zulu. So the two of them, both being Afrikaans, both being from Cape Town, bonded very quickly. And Rocco had Letitia, and then Dante had Meryl. So the four of them, there's nothing I could do about it. Nicole and I were on the outs. We were in danger there.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Like, how you both would have navigated it had you guys gone. So
it would have been a shit show. That's all I know. Like my plan was truly like, the best thing I can do is just let them offload the weights on the votes on me and play my idol. I would have just tried to take a bullet for the team, but yeah.
yeah.
One of my favorite scenes of the season with you is when you're at the new Ta'alo tribe and you make a fire while talking about how your dad helped you learn how to make fire. So what was that moment like, especially because later in the season, you say you control the game because you control fire.
Yeah, true. Look, my dad and I are very close. He taught me everything I know in terms of outdoors, you know, a lot of things in life. Very wise man. He's an Austrian. He's traveled half the world. And he took a lot of time out in, specifically prepare me for the season of Survivor. And one of the things he kind of made sure that I fine-tune was my fire making skills. And just be able to do it out there. It's very easy to make fire in your terrain, but on an island, everything's different. And the fact that we pulled it off was very lovely to actually pay homage to him, just to kind of thank him for teaching me those skills. But it is true. In a way, we all know in Survivor, fire is life. So what I started doing, and I don't think many people picked this up except for Dante, a very smart call on his side, was that I was putting the flint in my bag all the time. And I knew that come the day they want to vote me out, they know I carry the flint. So they will steal it before they vote me out because they don't want me to go home with the flint. So for me, I made it an early warning system of myself. They were kind of dependent on me. The more dependent the tribe becomes on you, the more they kind of subconsciously don't want you to go. Sometimes it's just a little bit of this dependency that will be the decision between, do we take Rob out now or do we take him later? This guy wakes up in the middle of the night, and which I was doing. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, make sure the fire is going for the tribe. I was fetching firewood for the tribe. I was working my butt off to make sure everyone is comfortable. So small things like that, kind of, you're not the first choice to go home because they're kind of like, Rob is really helping to make us comfortable. He's always making fire, etc. So, but Dante picked it up. Dante picked up the fact that I kept the flint 24/7, and it was a wise move for him to steal that flint.
You said that it was like a early warning system. So when Dante takes it from you, did like your radar go off, or?
Of course. Immediately, I realized this is why I have the flint in my bag, and now it's gone, and now something is fishy. But now also there was a little issue here. Okay, it was one of two things. He was smart enough to nick it when I finished making a fire. Now, before I actually went on Survivor, during my training, there's this habit that a lot of people do when they make a fire. They get so excited that they just drop the flint on the floor and they just add onto the fire. And it happened to me before. I burnt my flint. So you make the fire, the flint lights, you immediately drop it and you start adding to the fire. And it's a natural thing. It happens to a lot of amateurs where you get so excited when the fire finally goes that you actually drop your flint in the fire and it's gone. So I wasn't too sure. Did I burn my flint? Did I throw it in the fire? Or was it nicked? But either or, I realized this is a problem. I'm vulnerable. And yeah, I was shitting bricks. I won't lie. I was stressing.
So you, like you say, you managed to get through this tribe swap without going to tribal, and the tribe swap once again. What did you think of Talo's 3-point?
Okay, Tyler, please remind me who was in there. It was myself. We had Rocco. We had Mike. Yeah, that was a pretty nice one. That one I was very insulated because at this point, I think was CPay there?
CPay was on the other side.
Yeah, she was on the other side. But I had enough recruits with me that I was safe. I was well insulated. That one was comfortable. I mean, even Rocco saw it from a mile away. He was like, guys. He saw it early that, okay, everything somehow seems to connect to this one character. And it's very relaxed. I mean, for me, it's just staying calm. When everyone is stressing around you every night, tribal council today, and there's one guy who's kind of chilled. If there's a fire right now and everyone's running around panicking, and there's one guy that just chills and is not worried, we're all going to go to this person to be like, why aren't you worried? You know something we don't know, So that's what the kind of thing I was bringing to it. Just stay chilled, stay calm. I love that. That was a beautiful situation. From then on out, I never felt in trouble. That was a good swap.
Yeah. So you end up going to your third tribal of the season. This is where you get rid of Superman, aka Rocco. So what went into this decision to send Superman home?
Well, this is, I think, where I first started adopting that strategy of sometimes you don't really know who you're going to take home tonight, but you just sit and wait and you see who comes for you or who mentions your name or someone within your alliance. And that's all I did. I just sat and waited for someone to mention my name or any of my alliance members' names, and then that's who I chose goes home. There was also a thing about Rocco. Firstly, obviously, clearly physical threat. Like, he was tougher than everyone in there, no questions about it. For me, it was kind of like, a thing where you didn't actually see this in the edit, but they were like, Rob, Rocco wants to take you out tonight. I was like, oh shit, oh, I'm fine. Look, if I'm going home tonight, it's chill. I don't want to be going to merge with Superman. Because I'm sorry, if you guys are looking at me to beat him, I can't beat him. So if you guys are going to sit with him, by all means, you carry on with him because I cannot beat him. Don't look at me to try to beat that guy. That truly is Superman, you know. Then it just starts increasing the threat in him because, you know, he was really a machine, absolute machine, Rocco. So I'm glad we had to take him out at that point, and I'm glad he mentioned my name first. It kind of justifies it because you don't want to look like a tyrant that just wakes up in the morning, thumb sucks, or Rocco goes home. There needs to be a reason as to why we're choosing him, so you don't look like a Gaddafi. That's the last thing I wanted to become in there. So
right. And I mean, like everything with that, Rocco had won like 6 immunity challenges in a row. This was his first tribal, so it was just insane.
Exactly, and there comes a beautiful one. You get guys like Mike, etc., people who were still had never even seen tribal. And then here we are, you know, the Saula guys and stuff like that. Tribal was our home at this point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in Batman where Bane comes and then Batman goes and switches off the lights, and then Bane's like, oh, so you think darkness is your ally? I was born in it. Molded by it. This is where we're comfortable. You want to come through. You know, these guys were scared. They were stressing. And even they were asking me before tribal, they were like, so Rob, what happens in there? And how long does it go on for? They're stressing. They're sweating. They're grabbing themselves. And then we just comfortable. We're like, oh, man, this is nothing for it. So it was because we had that early exposure to it where for us it was chill. We really were so comfortable in it. There was guys like Mike and Rocco. They'd never seen tribal. So they were really stressing. So, yeah, we ran circles around them at this point. They were children to us.
Now I know who wins in the fight between Superman and Bane, and it's Bane.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No. And even Rocco goes and makes it easier for me. He puts on his glasses, so he's literally looking like Clark Kent. And he still thanks me for that till this day. He's like, Rob, thank you for dubbing me Superman. I mean, really, the name is stuck with me for life now. People, yeah, so it was good.
I mean, there's worse nicknames you can give someone. That's a pretty good one.
Exactly.
So after Rocco was voted out, this is where the Spit Shake 7 is formed, maybe the grossest alliance in the history of Survivor. So how much thought did you put into that alliance while also still being committed to the Amigos going forward?
Yeah, good question. Look, I was always, for me, coming into the game, and you know, I knew that Survivor is a show where we backstab each other and stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to hold some sort of a moral compass to say, okay, I have limits that I won't cross. This is it. And for me, I kind of looked at the Amigos as my family. You're born into this family. I didn't choose them. They were there with me. Okay. And I knew I did not want to ever turn on the Saula. So everything I do, everyone I backstab, everyone I lie to, it will be to protect my family, which was the Amigos, Saula. And when the Split Shaker thing popped up, I was like, you know what? It's got the numbers. I'll hold it. I'll stick with it for the time being. But truly speaking, for me, it never wavered. The Amigos, Saula was my family. And it was genuine. You know, the reason it worked so well is because it wasn't a lie. When I told them that I will die for you in this game, I'll protect you in this game, I'm going the distance with you in this game, it was not a lie. And people usually subconsciously can sense a lie. My heart was in it. My emotions were in it. They saw me crying ample times. You know, yeah, we're going to get to when Nate leaves, but I'll tell you what happens after. And the people saw, I mean, even Sipe, she said the reason the tribe left me with that idol, they knew I had Paul's idol, and they never snitched on me once. They never told a soul about it. It's because they knew that it was in the right hands, it was in the capable hands. And I did tell the tribe, I will play it for any one of you guys. If any one of you are in danger, I'll play it for you. And sure enough, I never played it for myself. I did exactly as I said I would do. I played it for Nicole in the end. So that was it. It was just my own little moral, just for my own thing. I knew I'm going to backstab, I'm going to lie, and I did do that. But just to hold it as some sort of a moral compass, Saul, I was never going to turn on him.
You said that was your family. Before merge happens, you lose one of your family members when Nicole votes out Nathan. What was your reaction like to seeing Nathan wasn't there?
Yeah. So you see us. I remember coming up to that the mat, and I saw Nathan's not there, and immediately it was like a lot going through my head, because in my mind he had the numbers. There shouldn't be a reason for this to happen. He should have been safe. Mm-hmm. Nothing was adding up. So my head was kind of spinning for a bit, and then Nico says, "Oh, merge and stuff," and we have to kind of do that celebrating shot. It is also excitement. Genuinely, there was excitement, but it just kind of paused what's in the back of my mind. What on earth happened here right now? My head was still kind of spinning. And then what you don't see is that soon after that, very quick after that celebration, they kind of had to stop the cameras for a bit. And then, Truth to Survivor, they do this, and it's right. At the moment the cameras go off, we're not allowed to look at each other. We're not allowed to talk to each other. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. It's just to make sure that you guys don't miss anything. And it's the right thing to do. So what they did was they separated us, and we all kind of walked into, separate areas. You're not allowed to, you look down, you're not allowed to say a word. And we were sitting probably about 3 meters away from each other, each cast away. We were like, in the bush somewhere. And then that's where I sat. And then it just started processing in my mind. Like it actually started sinking in what just happened, that Nate is gone. I don't know why he's gone, but he's gone. And everyone heard me starting to sob. Like it was at first like very gentle. You could just hear me sniffing, when the tears are coming, you're sniffing. But eventually, like, it was just, I couldn't hold it anymore. And everyone felt it. I mean, I remember CPA was the closest one to me, and she was kind of trying to, they saw how much it broke my heart. It just genuinely was real. I cried. I couldn't stop crying. So it really broke my heart. It truly broke my heart. And everyone could see that he wasn't faking the relationship. He's truly hurt. And whoever was involved in that blindside, I was coming for you now. So yeah, it was heartbreaking. It truly was. Like in Survivor, it truly feels almost as if someone close to you, when they get voted out, it feels like they're dead. It feels like they just died, because Survivor becomes your life. This is your life, and yeah.
Yeah, it definitely shows how genuine these bonds are that you make over the course of 39 days or however long the season is. So, so now that you're at Merge, what was it like dealing with all the rest of the personalities, and what went into the mayoral vote at the Merge Tribal Council?
Yeah, so quickly, when everyone gets together again, you start to kind of suss out the group dynamics. And I started seeing that, okay, you've got a certain fraction which I see like I'm close with this group. These are my people. But then I also saw, that whole Dante Merrill thing, which I'd really previously had some issues with. I knew that I was on the outs already. So they were there, and they started linking a bit with the Jeffrey group. Jeffrey also kind of became a character that people were kind of gravitating towards. But then Meryl also, it came out that she had an idol, something, or an advantage or something. There was something that raised Meryl's threat level. So for me, it was always like, find the highest threat level around you and eliminate it the second you can. And that's what I did. That's how Meryl became the top priority, because I also knew I wasn't close with her as well. And she had an advantage. She had Dante, the Jeffrey group, and people were kind of levitating towards Jeffrey. And what I find is the best thing to do is that if you find people starting to gravitate around a certain character, if you remove that person, they start scattering. They all go in different directions. And you kind of cut off the head of the snake, and then the body just disintegrates and it goes in all directions. So that's what I kept doing. Every time I started seeing someone having a bit of insulation around them, I would remove that person, and then the others go scattering all over the show. Yeah.
It seemed like they really just went everywhere for sure once you got rid of Meryl, because they didn't have someone that I guess to talk some sense into some of them. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Also in this merge episode, we see Nicole telling you about the what happened with the Nathan vote. So What happened with that relationship and how you got that back on track?
Yeah, okay. So it's a very tricky one, because eventually I understood why she did it. And, there's some things that you want to, that obviously can't end up in the show. It was very personal things for some players that unfortunately I don't think would be right for it to have been on the show. So when Nicole really told me what had actually happened, and I understood, and I let it go. I let it go there. But yeah, I still kept that kind of rage to say, okay, it's fine, Nicole, you chill, but everyone else that wrote his name down, they go down. It gave me a cause. You have to have a reason to go out and burn the world. You can't do it for nothing. You have to have a reason to go and attack these guys. And they gave me a perfect excuse to become a tyrant. Because at this point, up until this point, I'd really played a clean game. And and Nate's blindside, Nate being gone, was like the perfect excuse for me to just suddenly play the other character. Not just be the hero and the good guy. It finally gave me an excuse to actually say, you know what, I'm burning this whole thing down. I'm going to just annihilate these people. I don't give two shits. It was nice. It gave me an excuse to finally play a bit dirty, be ruthless. It was fun. So I embraced it and I went with it. Yeah.
But that gives me one of my favorite confessionals ever, and it comes from you, where it's like where you say, when Nathan left, so did a part of me, and that part was me playing nice.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. That's what I felt. When I was saying it was so true, because at this point I didn't care anymore. It was just like, I'm gonna burn this whole place down. It was really true. The nice part of me had gone at that point, and I decided it's time to really go flat out, especially for the people who were involved with that blind side. Yeah.
So at the next stage of the game, you also win your first individual immunity challenge in the Last Gasp challenge. So what was that like, especially for a challenge that so many former players don't even want to do?
So I think the first challenge was we were holding the paint, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
that endurance one. That was a lovely one. Steffi deserved to win it. I always found with the endurance ones, if I didn't win it, I got to the final three. Jeffrey was a very good CPA. It was always Jeffrey, Steffi, and myself. Those are very good endurance. Jeffrey does comrades marathons, like ultra marathon, 90 Ks, so he's got that endurance. Steffi as well. So yeah, that one, I'm kind of glad I didn't win, because I didn't need to win at that point, and you don't want to increase your threat level too soon anyway. So it was kind of perfect that I didn't win that one. But when it comes to the underwater one, is the one you're talking about, right? That was the first to win. Yeah. Funny enough, that challenge, when my father watched the show, when he watched it and he saw that challenge, he laughed the second he saw it. He knew exactly that I would win it. He laughed, because I had this thing from a young age. I would be fascinated in going into the pool and holding my breath as long as possible. And now in a normal, at any moment, I can hold my breath for 3 minutes, not a problem, because I was always from a young age trying to push the time of how long I can hold my breath. So imagine as a parent how scary it must be that now and then you come out in the middle of the day and you see your kid in the pool and he's floating like you're dead. And then you're trying to not use oxygen. You're trying to use as little oxygen as possible. So you kind of hyperventilate, and then you just go into this like trance where you're half asleep. You kind of trying to stay conscious, and you're trying to increase your time from like 1 minute to 2 minutes to 3 minutes, trying to go as long as you can. It's a game I've been playing by myself since I was a young kid in the pool, trying to hold my breath as long as possible. So the moment he saw this challenge, he's like, oh gosh, these guys have no chance against me. And it truly was that. It truly is that. Like, I honestly believe there's a handful of, take 100 random people in the world. If anything, 2 people out of those hundreds, maybe 1 could beat me at that thing. Like, I really think it's hard to, because it's something I love so much. I do it. I do it for fun, basically, put it that way. So this challenge comes, and I kind of went into a trance, and there's something you didn't see in the edit as well. But I was actually oversupplying my body with oxygen so much so that when the oxygen was available, when I could breathe, I was oversupplying the blood in me. it had so much oxygen in it that my biggest struggle was trying not to pass out. It was trying to stay conscious. It wasn't to try and get air. It was trying to keep, because there's periods where you can't breathe. When the waves are now, you're under, there's no air, right? So you want to keep as much oxygen in the blood as possible so that when those periods with no air comes, you chill. You got so much air in your blood and your lungs that you're fine. So I was actually trying not to pass out. That so much so that it went for so long. I'm so grateful to Steffi that she kept it going for that long. But I was nowhere near hitting my limit. And then eventually they actually had to come tell me, like, you've won. Okay. Then I hear I won and everything. And then I kid you not, I swear you can ask any of the castaways that were there. While under the water, they tell me I won. And I actually went under the cage and I stood upside down. So obviously I've got lots of air in my lungs. So it's pushing me up. So I was able to actually walk under that cage. And I walked from my side. If you recall, I know I was at the end. I walked all the way from my side, upside down. And I went to the end, turned around, and I walked all the way back, upside down. I swear to God, the producers will tell anyone who was there. And then, because that's how much air I had in me. It was just like, okay, I can't come up now. I don't want air. when I came up, they're like, oh, you win. So, short, long story, I love that challenge. It's the ultimate challenge. It's incredible. I love it.
A magician.
Wow! So not only are you Bane, but you're also the real Aquaman.
Yes, and they were calling Dante Aquaman.
Yeah.
He was like the fourth person knocked out of the challenge. I was like, come on. It was embarrassing. Come on.
So you win the immunity, and then Jeffrey is the next player voted out. Why was he the vote, and walk us through that one?
Yeah, they're definitely again there. You start seeing people gravitating towards Jeffrey. Jeffrey, you realize he's got a good relationship with Maba. He's good with Mike. He was good with Dural. He was cordial with Dante even. It was like I started seeing him as a kind of gravitational point. People go to him to ask him questions, what's happening tonight? And then you realize that's the person you got to take out. And then also, obviously, he only made it worse for himself when apparently started saying Nicole's name, etc. It was just like a no-brainer. Home time for Jeffrey.
Yeah. So after that, this gets to episode 11, which is one of the most interesting episodes and vote outs of the season. So you realize CPay is the puppet master. And what went into blindsiding her at that time? Why was it the right time to take her out?
This is a crazy one because I know it was actually all sparked because the night before, I think it was obviously when we took Jeffrey out, Nico mentioned a puppet master amongst our midst, right? And this just stuck in my head. I went home that night and was sleeping and I just kept thinking, there's a puppet master amongst us. Who's the puppet master? Who's the puppet master? Who's the puppet master? Not knowing that I was the puppet master. But I woke up with the intent that I'm going to find this puppet master. Clearly someone is playing this game on another level. Because you must realize that you don't know how others are playing. So only when I watched the show, I realized, okay, it was me that was puppet master, fine. But at that moment, I thought there's someone out here who's pulling big moves. I didn't think it was me. So I truly woke up to say, I'm going to find this puppet master today and we must take it home. And the more I started looking at CPay, the more I started realizing that if there's a puppet master here, it could be her because she had good relationships with so many people. And, she was smooth. She was like that mama bear, that person that everyone kind of trusts, they go to. She's not a physical threat. She's not on anyone's radar, but she's got tentacles. She's got good relations with people. So I truly took out CPay thinking that she was the puppet master. I was looking for myself, not even realizing it. And that's how she ends up going home. It's so unfortunate, but it was actually neat be at the time because she was a huge issue. She had good relationships, but I literally took out because I thought she was the puppet master, not knowing I was looking for myself.
Yeah.
Like an idiot.
Well, and ended up scattering everybody more because then again, they lost another person that was filling their heads and getting them to pull together.
Exactly. You're right. That's exactly what happened there. She was one of those other characters, but I wouldn't have gone for her. I wouldn't have targeted her because she was part of my core tribe, core alliance. It was only because I thought she's the puppet master that I had to take out, and sure enough, it caused another scatter.
So the next episode is when you take out the person taking food off your plate in the form of Dante. And this is also where you have the plan to frighten Jacques into trying to get him to play as idol. So what went into the Dante vote and trying to scare Jacques at that moment?
Okay, so look, at this point, Dante, I'd left him for a while. I knew we weren't close. I knew he has to go, but he wasn't high on my threat level because his social game was just that bad. Like I knew, I mean, physically fine. He would always, and for some reason, always won the food rewards. It was crazy. It's like when it's times for food, he kept winning it. And the worst part is he would make sure that he wouldn't take me with because he wanted to make me keep getting weaker. The weaker I get, the easier it is for him to beat me tomorrow. If every day you beat me today, fine. It was maybe a close matchup. But you eat, I don't eat. Then we come back, we fight again, and then you keep eating, I don't eat. And it just keeps making that gap worse and worse and worse. So that started immediately to just raise his threat level to me. And I remember I got so hungry at that point where I started feeling like I was drunk. And my mind wasn't working properly. It felt like I was intoxicated because the synapses just weren't firing properly. And that's what made Dante the number one target for me at that time. But then in the same breath, there was a looming Jacques problem. If I wasn't so hungry, Jacques might have been option one. But at that point, hunger was the most important thing. I knew if I take Dante out, then there's no more physical threats for me at all. I can start eating again. So it was Dante first, but I knew Jacques was a stirring pot there because he's a good player. He knows the game so well. He can find idols. He knows all the advantages, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like, let's take out Dante, but we need to start scaring Jacques in order to get him to play whatever advantage he's got so that we can catch him on the next one.
Before my next question, going back a little bit to the CPA vote, can you talk this how you were able to convince her to give you her half of the idol, and then you immediately give it to Nicole?
Yeah. So what I did with her was that basically she had half an idol, and then I think Nicole had the other half, if I wasn't mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said they had started having some kind of a little rift where there was some reason, I forgot exactly what it was. There was a reason why the two of them had a bit of a disalignment. And I played on that. I said to CPay, okay, CPay, you know you can trust me, okay? Nicole knows she can trust me. So in order to neutralize this thing, please can you give me your half of the idol, and then Nicole has given me her half of the idol. Then at least we know it's safe with me. I've really got an idol. I mean, come on, what difference does it make at this point? We all know it's safe with me. So just to kind of defuse this issue, can this thing just come back, be put as one, and then we can fix this thing going forward? I think that's how I eventually got through to her, because she kind of saw that, okay, look, there was a rift for some reason. What it was, I'm not sure. Does the edit show what is going on between Nicole and CPAT?
I don't really think so, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Mm. There was a crack there somewhere. There was a crack that allowed it to happen.
Okay. So during a reward challenge, you beat Mamba for an advantage, and you have to go to the Island of Secrets to get it, where you get a bunch of food, and then, as you say, a soul food in the form of a letter from your dad. So what was that like?
It was like a complete recharge. You know, it was as if I was an electric vehicle. Then people were just putting diesel inside, and it was not charging. It was as if I was a Tesla that finally got electricity. It was like, oh yes, this is it. This is what I needed. Like it's incredible what it does to you. How the food helps, but it just completely lifts your spirits up, and you get so recharged. It's like you're back to day one again. That's what I needed. I need that time alone, away from the tribe, to cry it out, have some drinks. You know, there was an advantage there for me. Do you know they had that game for the next day that was set up?
Yeah.
I looked at the thing once, and I was like, I don't know what this is. To be honest, I don't give two shits. I didn't touch it. I was like, stuff it. I'm drinking, I'm eating, I'm sleeping. That was that. It was lovely. Exactly what I needed. Very beautiful time. Much needed recharge.
Well, you got recharged, and then, in my opinion, your best move of the game is you come up with the fake advantage. So please talk us through that one.
Okay, so this was the point of the game where I think I'd finally started getting comfortable enough, where I was willing to actually test production. in the sense where I always thought that if I push it too far, the producers would say, "Whoa, Rob, you're not allowed to do that. This is now, you've pushed it too far." So then I thought to myself, I was like, people keep going to the Island of Secrets. They come back, they tell the truth. Now I want to kind of, because I knew that they respected me. Like, Mike and them, they respected me. But I could start smelling that this is about the time that Mike and them should start, Mike Durrell, that little fraction there, behind them, they should start coming for me at this point. So now I wanted them to actually fear me. I wanted to convert that respect into fear. And the best way I could do that was to say, let me just come back with something. And I say to Mike as if I'm telling him something in confidence, knowing very well that he's going to go back and he's going to tell his fraction. Because Mike started becoming that person that they were gravitating to. I saw Mabao was hiding behind Mike. I saw that Mike was starting to form a little thing. So I knew that we closed, so I can tell Mike a lie in confidence, tell him only, knowing very well that he's going to run to the others and go and tell them the same thing. So that's where I decided, let me come back with a fake advantage, because I technically got nothing, really speaking.
Right.
They don't have to know that. So yeah, that was it.
It's brilliant.
Because I also didn't want to take Mike out.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to take Mike out at this point, because I still knew that I could work with him. I hadn't lost him completely, but I just needed him to pause. It was just like a pause, just like, okay, I will fight you now. I just have something else I need to take care of, which was Mabao. That was literally the only reason. So I had to pause off Mike because I could still control him. I could still work with him, but Mabao was come somewhere completely else. So it was just to hold him more for 1 or 2 more votes.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, so at the next reward, you end up winning a car that you only have for a month. So how did you feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. I mean, it was a nice car, and funny enough, I carried on working with the brand, so I had the car for well over a year actually.
Oh wow!
Just continued. Yeah.
Well, that makes it better. Well, and so then that final 9 vote is when you end up taking out Cobus. So, kind of walk us through that vote and what happened there.
The Corbus one. I'm trying to think why. Oh, okay. No. So Corbus only went because Jacques was plan A. Jacques was plan A, Corbus was plan B. And then this was actually where the first time, because what I was actually doing is every single day before tribal, they ask you who's voting for who you voting for, what do you think the vote layout will be? And I'd gotten it 100% right up until this point. I wouldn't just tell them who my alliance is voting for. I'd tell them who the opposite alliance was voting for. Truth to God, every single day I knew exactly who votes for who without fail. And this was the first time where Steffi got cold feet because she knew that her name was going to come down. And I told Steffi, trust me, the numbers are right. Just you put this name down and it will play out exactly like this. And she got cold feet and she switched her vote to the wrong person. And instead of Jacques going home, Corbus went instead because Steffi switched the names around. It was a way to kind of ensure her safety. And I mean, next day she came back, she apologized, she realized that she had kind of ruined things. So Jacques only survived because Steffi made a mistake there. So Corbus wasn't meant to go home, he was plan B. So yeah, that wasn't meant to be like that. The first time that things went wrong.
That makes sense.
It still kind of worked out for you in the long run. Episode 14 is a big one. This is where Jacques comes back after not playing the idol and kind of blows up after tribal council and pisses everybody off. You make it the decision that nobody talks to Jacques at that point. So how angry were you and how much of that was game plan?
I only found out later that apparently Boston Rob did the same thing, and he did that before. And I was like, oh crap, I didn't even know that.
Buddy system, yeah.
So look, I definitely wanted to make sure Jacques we get him out, and he gave us the perfect excuse because on his own he just pissed off the entire tribe and it blew up. I mean, I don't even think you realize how bad it really was, how everyone was so angry. He kind of just pissed everyone off at that thing at that night. And thereafter, obviously, it just off the top of my head, I realized that, okay, if he can't talk to someone, he can't persuade anyone anything. So if you're doing one-on-one walks with, because technically he's not going home next tribal because he's going to play his idol now. So he can't go home. So who's going to go home? The easiest way is to say, okay, we don't know who we're taking home, but it's if we see you walking alone with Jacques, then thank you there. You've just made the decision for us. And that's that. And it's so unfortunate because the edit makes it look like, we kind of were bullying him and stuff like that. However, what you don't see is that, in Survivor, there's lots of times where there's no gameplay, where we're just sitting around the fire and we're talking. And that's how it was like. We were all talking to Jacques when we're as a group. As a group, we would sit there all night and we could talk in the mornings, we eat and stuff like that. But it was those one-on-one walks away. That was the only time where Jacques was isolated, where it was like, okay, no one wants to take a walk with him. Because that's the problem. The moment Jacques gets one person to go and take a walk with and they start chatting, then suddenly someone might just fall for that trick. Someone might just be persuaded. So it was a thing of no one takes a walk with Jacques. But funny enough, I ended up taking walks with Jacques just to try and hear him out. But people knew that, okay, I'm not going to go and take his side here. So it was safe. But yeah, we had to do it. I think for me, it was the safest move to make at the time because I didn't want him to, because he had made it clear he's coming for me at this point. He said my name, Tribal, I think it was. So I just didn't want him to infect other people with that same mindset of Rob is a threat. Let's take this guy out now while we can. I was trying to keep him away from the others.
Yeah, I think the show is really trying to portray Jacques as like the likable underdog that the audience could kind of root for over you guys, but then like you guys, it didn't show your side of what actually happened because of that.
Yeah, but I mean that's Survivor. We at the end of the day we want to. The show must be fun and stuff, and I like it. Even when I watch, I'm like, oh wow, these assholes, they just isolated someone. They no one loves to talk to. He looks so lonely. He's sitting there. Sometimes we're sitting all lonely as a. But it's. Realistically, it wasn't as bad as it seems. It wasn't as bad, it wasn't as bad as it looks.
This is also where your fake advantage comes into full play, where Mike is targeting you and you tell him you're playing your advantage tonight, and you have that great scene with Dara where he tells you he's aborted the mission. So talk us through that.
Yeah, it's just I could kind of the nice thing with that tribe, I've been with them for so long that at this point you kind of read these people. You've been with them for so long. The body language, the demeanor. I think about 70% of when we communicate, it's not verbal. It's subliminal. It's your body language. It's things you learn with people over time. So at this time, I kind of studied these people well enough to kind of see when something's cooking. And I did see now that, okay, if there's a time that Mike must just leave me alone, it's tonight because I've got a Jacques Poloni to take care of right now. I've got too many issues to worry about bloody Mike on my case. So let me just hold him off for one more day. I'll sort him out tomorrow. But I just don't want Mike's nonsense today because I could see the nonsense brewing. I could sense it was coming. And yeah, that's where I decided to just say I'm playing it today. And it worked like a bomb.
In one of the craziest tribal councils I've ever seen in Survivor, Jacques plays his idol before tribal's even finished. Votes aren't counted against him, and Mike and Mava still vote for Jacques, and Mava goes home. So I don't know if you can shed any light on this because I've never been more confused in my life. So what happened at that tribal council?
I think at this point, the people have been almost, and Nico says it, he doesn't say it in the game, but there's a thing they put up on social media where he explains that he believes that some people here are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. I must find that clip for you. Nico actually says it, and it's actually even on my social, I copied it because he was right. He said, these people at this point now were so beautifully seduced that seeing their future, seeing exactly what is happening, they choose to go along with it. It was like literally a state capture, like a Stockholm syndrome, where you start identifying with the cause of the capture. I don't know myself how this is happening. These people are like brainwashed, where if you say to them, do this, they do exactly that because they'd seen so many examples of where someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and that's the person that goes home. And I don't understand it myself. How could you do that? I truly thought, I was expecting her to vote for someone else. I wasn't relying on that number. I really wasn't relying on her to actually put it. There was enough numbers. But sure enough, she did exactly as told. I was shocked. I was even shocked myself to say, how is this even possible? Because she wasn't thinking for today. She was thinking for tomorrow, that if I survive tomorrow, I just want to be able to say, I did exactly as I was told to do. You know, she wants to go back to be able to say, I never wavered. I never sweat. I did exactly as I was told to do. Because she knows that if you don't do as you're told to do, tomorrow you end up on the chopping block. That's the only possible explanation I can think of. I don't get it myself.
Yeah. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
And she had an idol in her pocket.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, if she ends up catching on somehow and plays it, I'm guessing you end up playing yours at that point, knowing that you're the other option, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. 100%.
So the next day, you win the Loved Ones Challenge with your mother. So one, what was it like to do the challenge with your mother, and then to win it and go back to camp for a feast?
Sure. Look, at this point, seeing your mom out there, I mean, it's unlike anything you can imagine. It's something I wish everyone, you know, could experience. It's a blessing. It's a gift. Like, it's the greatest gift Survivor can ever truly give to you, is to take you away from everything, your loved ones especially, and then to bring them back to you at that point, at that moment where you're weakest and you feel lost, you're alone, and all that stuff. So yeah, very beautiful experience. I believe it's the best part of the entire Survivor experience. And look, I know my mom. She's a machine. She was so tough. I wasn't stressed at all. I mean, we had a guy like Clint there. Clint also became a good friend. I actually was the pastor in him and Nicole's wedding. And he's a big guy, very tough as well. But my mom thrashed him. she whipped his ass. and I mean, she's a tiny woman. She weighs like 55, maybe 60 kgs or so. But she's fit, very fit. And yeah, I knew she would not let me down. But either or, I was just enjoying the experience of actually being able to play Survivor with my mom. Because I also know with these things, they don't kind of put too much weight on the loved ones. They let us survivors take care of 80% of the hard work, you know, but it was lovely to play with her. We win, we go back together. She kind of sees my home. She was crying because, you know, she's used to me being so big and stuff. And all of a sudden, you know, dirty, we stink and everything. And, you know, they were actually kind of sensitized to say, guys, listen, these people really stink, okay? But don't make them feel self-conscious. Don't kind of show it in your face how bad they smell and everything. But yeah, no, it was incredible. So yes, I win the challenge with my mom. Experience I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And yeah, so so then I had to choose who goes where, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah. Look, this is always a tough one because you know you're going to hurt someone one way or another. And the thing is, you have to send your strongest soldiers to the toughest battles. So I kind of keep my friends close, but my enemies closer. I knew I could trust Nicole, and it was so hard to send Nicole out there, but I needed Nicole to keep an eye on Mike and Durrell for me. That's the thing, because I knew that there was trouble brewing, especially with Mike. So I wanted her to keep an eye on them. So it was literally a thing of, as much as it hurt my heart, I know she needed to see Clint at this point. I needed her to keep an eye on the two guys for me, to just keep them in line. That's all it truly was. It's pure logic. And at this point, I'm also smelling a rat with Steffi. So I also wanted to keep an eye on her.
Mm-hmm. And that's because of the whole loved ones thing, of her reaction to her best friend coming out and her already have seen her.
Yeah, I could spot it. You know, you could feel the emotions and power coming off people when they saw their loved ones. Mm-hmm. And when she saw her friend, it was so obvious that these people just saw each other. And then I realized for the first time in my life, so the first time in the game, I realized Steffi's just lied to me, because we'd been honest to each other from the, and that was when I realized, because even coming to ask her, she's like, no, this happened. She didn't tell me she saw her friend. Right. If she had told me the truth, it would have been fine. Like, so what? You saw your friend, who cares? It's not a problem. It's chill, you know, who cares? But why are you lying to me about it? The moment you start lying to me once, that really starts saying there's something wrong with our relationship now. Now I can't trust you.
Yeah, for sure. So at the next tribal council that night, so Mike and Darrell realized they've been played at tribal. Did you think they'd be able to convince Letitia to join them? And like, how do you keep these people in check? Like your puppets, how do you keep them on a string so well?
Yeah, look, at this point now, it is starting to get, but I don't think I saw it as well, but it was starting to get a bit dangerous at this point. Um, but you kind of, I think Dural was really, really helpful for me in this game. I know that some castaways were really upset at him because they kind of blamed him for blowing up their game and stuff because he kept telling me everything. But it's the things that people don't realize about Dural's and I's relationship. It was really genuine as well. I spent a lot of time with Dural. It was just the two of us. We have a lot to relate on. Very similar upbringings, backgrounds, and stuff like that. And I don't even know if I can say this, but there was a reward once where I got a reward, and there was something nice I got, and I actually smuggled it, and I hid it so well, okay, just so I can go back to camp. And late at night, I said, "Hey, Dural, let's go to the water, by the beach." And I gave him this thing, and he realized, like, shit, this guy hid this thing for me just so I can also have a little bit of a taste, But that's the kind of effort and stuff I put into people. So it forms a genuine bond. And I really did want him to have this thing, So that's why Dural was close. So I knew that if Dural stays there, because Dural's got the one who's going to tell me whatever Mike wants to do, he's going to have to bring Dural in on it. He can't make a move without bringing Dural. And if I got Dural close with me, Mike can't make a move because I'll see it coming from a mile away. So that's why I wasn't too stressed. I knew I couldn't really trust Letitia. I saw Steffi slipping, but as long as I can hold on to Nicole and Dural, I knew I could kind of capture whatever's happening around me.
For sure.
So you win immunity once again. Feels like that's every episode at this point. And you're told that Steffi is coming after you. So before this tribal council, Nicole plants seeds with you that if you don't win immunity, that you all just wear your immunity idols and don't play it. And she's considering voting you out. Do you think if you hadn't won immunity, you would have went with that plan of just wearing the idols? Had she not told you about the Steffi plan?
Not a chance. I promise you at this point, I came up with this plan, and obviously had I not won, I would have said, no, screw that popsicle stand, I'm playing this thing, But for me, it was kind of a nice thing to say, hey, let's have this nice, cute finish, let's do it like this, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Because had I not won, then I would have played it anyway, But it was kind of like I promise you there was no chance on earth that I was going to do that. This was me just trying to have a beautiful fairy tale in people's minds, knowing that more than likely I'm going to win this thing anyway. So, but it was nice because it added some suspense to it,
Yeah, we were curious about how that would have went. Yeah. So instead, you end up having this moment where you hold the necklace above Steffi's head and then tell her she's betrayed the amigos and she goes home at that tribal. So walk us through that.
That was hectic. That was really hectic. So I truly didn't see it coming that hard. I knew that, okay, Steffi's a bit dodgy, but I didn't know how far the plan had gone. That they already had discussed, if I lose, they take me out. Fine, whatever. It's understandable. But then when Nicole came to tell me, I kind of said, okay, you know what? I can't take them all out in one shot. So I have to preserve some relationships here, okay? Steffi, fine, she has to go. But I have to bring Nicole back in, because it just so you kind of just want to try and keep that relationship as good as possible, even though it's kind of burnt. But hopefully that if it happens that you lose the last one, that you can still depend on that relationship. Very unlikely, but you don't want to burn bridges if you don't have to. So I kind of said to Nicole, it's all fine. You came, you told me. I know the only reason she told me is because I won. Had I not won, she would have gone with the plan. 100%.
Yeah.
It's fine. You kind of want to make someone feel that I appreciate you and all that kind of stuff, which she's the one who came to run to tell me first, thank you, let's take out Steffi. It was a no-brainer at that point. Plus, it was fine to take out Steffi because I knew that if the final challenge was anything with endurance, she would have been my biggest problem there at the moment. So she gave me the excuse to take her out. I mean, I wasn't going to be true eager. I'd rather go up against her Dural and Letitia and Nicole than take Steffi, where it most likely will be an endurance thing, and she's proven herself a challenge beast anyway. So she gave me the excuse to eliminate her, which I jumped at the chance. She didn't see it coming at all, eh? Oof, painful one. And she still denied it. When I said, you played to trade the Migos, she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, you know.
I love that people deny things when they've been caught.
Yeah,
By
no,
lots
I
of
think she just
cameras.
didn't realize that the magnitude of how well we know what had happened. But again, after the game, Steffi, amazing woman, we became great friends. Her and her husband Clint. What I like about certain people, strong characters, they can separate the game from personal life. They can let go of what happens there because we understand it's a game. You can't go and personally be angry at someone forever of what happened in the game. So she's like that. We move on. All as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so then you have the final four tribal council, the last vote right before the final tribal, and you won the last immunity, and this is where Letitia is voted out. And was there ever consideration to vote Nicole out here, or was it always going to be Letitia that you took out here?
I mean, look, Letitia would have been an easy go to take to the end. But I kind of also wanted to hold on to a bit of, hold on to the promise I made in day one. Steffi gave me an excuse to break the promise. Okay. Had she not given me an excuse, I would have still held on to it. I would have had to fight her at the end. It's okay. But I did still in my mind say that, the picture I kind of had in mind of how we finish, I want to actually finish it. We're so close to the finish line, we might as well anyway. So I had to take Nicole there. At least she was the last genuine Saula member left there. And Dural at this point had also deserved it. Dural had stayed loyal to me. So choosing between Letitia and Dural was a no-brainer for me. Dural had showed his loyalty. He had earned it. He proved himself. For me, it wouldn't have felt right taking Dural out at this point. He was too good to me in that game. So that's why Letitia was the obvious choice.
That makes sense.
So going into the final tribal council, how did you feel about your chances? How many votes did you think you were going to get going in?
Oh, I knew I'd won. To be honest, I knew that my resume was good enough at this point that's why I wasn't afraid. I could have gotten in there with anyone. It truly didn't matter if Steffi was there. It doesn't matter who was there for me at that point because I knew I had a good enough resume. The problem though, I can say the mistake I made was that I didn't own my game. I was still very reserved, humble. We have this thing in Zulu where it's like Ubuntu, where we have to be, from a young age, we're raised to be humble. We're raised to be, you lower yourself down. You never be boastful. You never be proud. You never brag. You never, so I did that at the end. And I didn't actually tell people. I didn't own all the stuff I did. And, it was only at the reunion, at the finale, where people had actually watched the show. All the castaways had watched the show. And they came up to me. Every person who didn't vote for me said, Rob, had we watched the show before we voted, we would have all voted for you because you didn't own your game. You were just holding back a lot. You never really explained to what degree you were actually doing things. And yeah.
So the jury was also quite bitter towards some of the finalists. We saw Durao get quite a hard time and some comments towards Nicole as well. Were you surprised at how annoyed the jury seemed to be?
Look, I saw it coming with Nicole. Especially when Meryl got up and spoke. She said some very hurtful personal things, and from then on, immediately I could see that. Ouch! There's some deep-hurted feelings here against Nicole. And that's why I was so shocked she got as many votes as she did. But it's because she owned up to a game. That is why. She did the right thing. She kind of said, yes, fine, whatever, I did what I did, but I'm here now, I survived. I'm here, that's all that actually matters. She wasn't afraid to be the villain. She wasn't afraid to take onus of everything that she did. Yet I was still that one who was kind of holding back. And, that was my mistake. I should have actually just taken control of it again. But again, it was because I was too relaxed. For me, it was like the finish line. I knew come hell or high rain, I'm going to win this thing. So I was really nonchalant about it. And it just shows how little I've watched Survivor. I really haven't watched much season. I can probably 3 or 4 seasons is all I've ever watched of Survivor, ever. I was still even asking them when I was in the game, what happens if we all vote, like if there's a tie? What happens thereafter? That's how little I knew about Survivor.
So you do end up winning the game, an incredible winning game. So one of the questions we like to ask to wrap things up here, of the seasons you've seen, of your own season, who do you think is the best physical player, best strategic player, best social player, and an all-rounder?
Okay, so best physical player, Survivor South Africa, hands down, I'll give it to Rocco. Easy one. Best strategic player, Survivor South Africa, I would say you could put a Vanna very high up there. Yeah, you could put a Vanna very high up there. He did very well. Best social player in Survivor South Africa. Just everyone loves CPA. CPA, incredible social game. You know, I thought she was in danger when she went to the other tribe, and she was actually angry at me because I sent her to the Island of Secrets. Think I'm trying to protect her. She's like, don't! I don't need your protection. I'm to the wolves. I come back leading the pack. That is CPA. So hands down, best social player in my opinion, and then best all rounder. It's me. No doubt about it. You know? No, seriously. You get bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, more charismatic players than me. But I truly believe I'm the perfect balance that encompasses all those attributes. That's no brainer for me.
I can't disagree with that. Yeah.
Same, because we had Tony on the podcast from Philippines, and she picked you as the best all-around player as well. So
I appreciate it.
Some of the questions I always like to ask survivors is, if you could pick 1 to 3 words to describe your own survivor legacy, what would those 1 to 3 words be?
Actually, balance. Balance is my favorite word. Balance is truly my favorite word in the world. It's balance. That's what it'd be. I think it's just a good balance.
Perfect answer, because you said
it's balance of the it's a balance of that yin and the yang. You know, the good, the bad. I was the bad guy. I was the good guy. I was the hero. I was the villain at certain points in the game. So it's balance.
Okay. And then for us, if we ever need to practice balance, all we have to do is just walk on some train tracks, right?
Yes, I promise you. Try it, Matt. Walk on train tracks. You fall off in the beginning, every third, fourth step, you're falling off. And you start going further and further without tipping off. You know, it's incredible. It just sorts out your balance like this. Try it.
I'll try to find some here in Los Angeles, but it's kind of hard.
Make sure there's no trains on it, eh?
I would be running very fast. And then my favorite question to always ask is, when you close your eyes and you think back to your time on Survivor, what image do you see?
Close my eyes, go back to Survivor. I see a person being torn apart, broken to pieces, and building themselves back stronger than ever. It's like muscle. People don't understand protein synthesis. It's actually the process of tearing the muscle fibers. You break it, you actually rip it to pieces. The actual fragments within the muscle, they tear apart. They literally separate, they rip. And then protein synthesis is the process of rebuilding it. And every time it rebuilds, it comes back stronger. And that's what happened to me as a person at Island, as a soul, as a body. I was broken in every way imaginable, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. I was broken, and I was able to grow back stronger than ever. It was a beautiful growing trait. So yeah, it would be destruction and construction again.
Well,
like a Super Saiyan.
I've already called you Bane and Aquaman. Now we can maybe also call you Doomsday, because that also happens to Doomsday. So
serious? Okay. I didn't know that.
All the DC references.
No, I'm a huge DC Marvel fan as well. Don't worry, I'm there with you.
Yeah. All right. My last question is that people want to follow you on social media, Rob, where can they find you?
Probably most active on Instagram. I haven't been for the last 2 years, but getting back into it again. Just type Rob Survivor. So Rob Bentele Survivor. But if you just search Rob Survivor, I'll be up there. So yeah, more than happy.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rob. This has been a great interview.
Thank you.
Nothing but a
thanks for your
pleasure.
time.
Thank you so much. Jake, Matt, Michael, you guys are legends. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Appreciate it, guys.
Of course. It's been awesome. So with that, we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.